police dismantle scam centers and make hundreds of arrests as part of international crime network crackdown. Ministry of Health launches leprosy and tuberculosis screening campaign. Atahuru Island students champion marine conservation. Protesters in New Delhi call for Indian Education Minister's resignation. Welcome back to RTTL World News. I'm Sony Madeira. The Timor-Leste National Police have dismantled 9 scam call centers across Dili and Likisa over the last month. More than 350 foreign nationals have been arrested and charged with fraud, money laundering, and illegal gambling.
A large-scale police operation has uncovered an international crime network operating online call scamming from Timor-Leste. 7 premises in Dili and 2 in Likisa were successfully raided, resulting in the arrest of more than 350 perpetrators and the collection of evidence used to operate call scamming activity, including computers, laptops, mobile phones, and Starlink equipment. Last Saturday, the Prime Minister of Timor-Leste joined police in a raid at City 8 Manewana.
We must have a strong policy on cybercrime, a pervasive problem globally that facilitates counterfeiting, money laundering, and other crimes.
Prime Minister Gusmao warned the fraud cases could tarnish Timor-Leste's reputation and erode international trust.
Zero tolerance for illegal gaming, fraud, cybercrime, and all such things.
Most of the accused are from Indonesia and China, some from Cambodia.
The Chinese embassy doesn't have the specific data, but we want to affirm that what we protect is the rising interest of the Chinese citizen. They obey the law.
Most defendants have been charged with fraud, criminal association, money laundering, and illegal gambling, with the court setting bail at $2,500 to $10,000 for each individual. Meanwhile, those arrested last week are still being processed by the court. Their passports have been seized and they are required to check in with police once a week as the investigation continues and they await trial. One of the accused remains in custody. Victims of similar scams hope the arrests will prevent this activity from recurring in the future.
At that time, I didn't know anything. People were lying and I just believed them. I was very happy because of their promises. But after knowing it was just a scam, I felt devastated. But now I feel happy again because our government has paid attention and prioritized eradicating this illegal act.
I hope this fraud won't happen again in the future. The authorities must do their best to block the path for people bringing illegal goods here to defraud the people of Timor-Leste.
Timor-Leste's intellectuals and veterans are calling on the community and government to be aware of their threat to the nation's security.
All Timorese people must ensure security in this country, especially regarding electronic-related crimes, so Timor-Leste needs to learn more.
Our country is in a bad condition. To improve our country, it goes back to our leaders, how they can manage the current situation. If they just let this situation be, it is likely that this country will fall.
Meanwhile, students shared their concern of the threat of transnational and cybercrime to the nation's security.
I think it will be a threat to our country.
Our national security is threatened by unconventional threats such as cybercrime that is circulating in our country.
Last year, after police dismantled a scam center in Oikusi, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime warned that Timor-Leste had become the latest hub for a rampant fraud operation in Southeast Asia and beyond. JGS RTTL World News.
Early this year, Dr. Michael Rose from the University of Adelaide was in Oikusi, where he has researched and reported on scam syndicates and transnational crime in Timor-Leste. Dr. Rose joined RTTL World News reporter Jagedes from Australia to share insights into his work in Timor-Leste and his observations on the country's vulnerability to these threats.
Can you explain your work in Oikusi over the last 12 months?
Originally, my research in Oikusi was about adat and sort of religion and stuff like that. But when I heard heard stuff in the news about these scam centers and things, I thought I'd go and have a look for myself. So last March, that's what I did. I went to Oikusi and I visited the center itself, even though it had been shut down by that point. And I spoke to some people who, one way or another, had been involved.
What observations have you made about the presence of transnational crime and scam centers in Timor-Leste?
Oikusi hadn't changed very much. Sort of day-to-day life in the town and in the hills was still very similar to what it had been 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So even though there had been a compound with sort of 200 or 300 people working in it, sort of making phone calls to overseas and that type of thing, that didn't impact the sort of daily life of the town very much. It was very separate, which I thought was sort of interesting.
What makes Timor-Leste vulnerable to transnational crime?
Transnational crime tends to set up operations like this in places where governance is weak, where the police are ineffective, and where there's very high levels of corruption. So basically, they can bribe officials and people like that to look the other way, or even facilitate their operations. Now, look, Timor-Leste obviously isn't perfect. Everybody knows this. Nowhere is perfect. But on the other hand, it's not a weak state in the same way that some other places in Southeast Asia are, where these operations have been known to thrive. Specifically Cambodia, specifically bits of Myanmar. So I think what's happened here is that there's essentially been a misunderstanding. I think transnational criminals have looked at Timor-Leste and thought, okay, there's a small country. It had a war 25 years ago. Maybe we can set out our operation here. And that will be a good place for it. But I think what they've found, right, is that Timor-Leste isn't as weak as they think it is. And that's why we've seen the scam center in Oikusi shut down. And we've seen these recent arrests in Dili and I believe Likisa.
What does the recent response from the National Police say about Timor-Leste's approach to the issue?
At some level, whether that's sort of political or within the police or some combination of both, this issue is being taken seriously. And that a choice has been made to show these criminal networks that they can't operate with impunity in Timor-Leste.
I really appreciate for all information that you share with us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Timor-Leste is stepping up public health screenings to combat a rising number of leprosy cases, 15 years after the nation first committed to the World Health Organization's targets to eliminate the disease as a public health threat. Timor-Leste's Ministry of Health and its partners launched the new screening campaign last week, hoping to eliminate the disease in the next 4 years. Following the launch, RTTL World News reporter Paulina Quintão spoke with several survivors of the disease to hear their stories and explore the ongoing stigma they face.
This young woman is 25 years old. We are calling her Maria, which is not her real name. Back in 2020, she was diagnosed with severe leprosy.
At the beginning, I didn't know it was leprosy. It was a small white bump on my cheek, and I thought it was acne.
When Maria first saw a doctor at the Delhi National Hospital, she was only prescribed medication for a skin disease.
At first, it looked like tinea, so I went to see a doctor, and they just gave me an ointment to put on it for a week. Then it was gone. But then it reappeared, making my skin very red, and there were small lumps everywhere. And I went to see a doctor again, and I was diagnosed with leprosy.
Her treatment journey was not easy, as she experienced stigma and discrimination from relatives and the community.
My nose, hands, and feet were swollen, and people started to isolate me, even some of my own relatives. People started to call for an ambulance to take me away from my home, but my parents stood by me and encouraged me to continue receiving medical treatment.
Joel Costa dos Santos is another survivor, left with a physical disability from his battle with leprosy. He was diagnosed when he was just 17.
My condition was severe and it left me with a severe disability. I got surgery to fix my hands, but my fingers on my left hand cannot be bent.
Mr. Santos and other survivors founded an association for people affected by leprosy in 2019, drawing on their experiences to raise public awareness and advocate for patients' rights to treatment.
We have a few programs to reduce stigma and discrimination. For instance, we go to people who are affected by leprosy and explain to their families about the disease and tell them that the disease can be cured, but it can leave a permanent disability.
Leprosy is a preventable chronic infectious disease caused by a type of bacteria called Mycobacterium leprae. The disease can be successfully treated with multi-drug therapy, but a late diagnosis and treatment can leave patients permanently disabled. Currently, there are 77 people receiving medical treatment for leprosy across the country.
Most of the cases are registered in Oikusi, Baucau, and Dili. Oikusi has 26 cases, Dili 22, and Baucau 11. The rest of the cases are dispersed throughout other municipalities. Therefore, we are stepping up the screening efforts to see if there are more people infected with the disease.
The new screening campaign is not just for leprosy, but also for tuberculosis in endemic municipalities.
We need to do the screening because we don't know if there are cases that go undetected. Therefore, we launched this integrated screening activity for leprosy and tuberculosis.
The World Health Organization remains committed to supporting Timor-Leste's effort to end leprosy by 2030.
I'm very confident that with increased screening and if there are more detection of leprosy cases, medication is available, and we will continue to provide that support from WHO side to ensure that anti-leprosy medicines continue to remain available as a part of the joint commitment to make sure that Timor-Leste ends leprosy at the municipality level.
To end leprosy in Timor-Leste by 2030, early detection, effective treatment, and community awareness will be key. Pauline Quintown, Judas Magno, RTTL World News.
A new environmental campaign is bringing marine protection education straight into the classroom, equipping local students with the tools and knowledge to lead climate action in their communities. The initiative, backed by a Chinese investor, pairs classroom education with hands-on conservation efforts to build a habit of protecting the environment that lasts long after the school bell rings.
Last week, 50 students from Fini Esperanza Bikeli and Teknik Vocational Fisheries Atauru participated in a 3-day workshop facilitated by Beni Marine aimed to strengthen the ecosystems of the island. After learning about marine ecosystem literacy, students put their safety skills to the test and took to the water. These Atauru Island students are gaining practical skills in environmental awareness.
Beni Marine is a company that is committed to promoting marine education and marine sports in Timor-Leste. So, with this commitment, today we carry out activities together with our partners NGO Hakosta and Roman Lua to share knowledge and build environmental awareness to strengthen the marine ecosystem in Atauru and Timor-Leste.
The students recognize the importance of protecting marine ecosystems.
With the experience we gained in awareness activities about protecting mangroves, seagrass, and coral reefs, it is very important because these ecosystems are a treasure and will benefit our country.
Through the experience we have gained, we will continue to preserve and develop marine ecosystems such as mangroves, coral reefs, and seagrass, to grow more to protect communities living in coastal areas. And these ecosystems can also become a place for the sea biodiversity to continue to live.
On day 2, Beni Marine instructors and their partners took students to explore and discover 9 different species of mangroves growing in Warwana Beach.
We bring students to explore mangroves and observe their condition, and we give knowledge to students on how they can know about mangrove species that live in the area.
Later that day, students dove deeper to explore the seagrass under the surface.
As a teacher, I would like to ask Beni Marine to continue to share their experience with our students with practical activities like this, so that students can know more about the ecosystems that exist.
Beni Marine's chairman Lee Chuning says the Chinese company has big environmental goals.
So our aim is that to cultivate resilience into the youth and also inspire their courage. To do that, we are going to take 2 actions. One is environment conservation protection. So, like today, the first thing is to awareness the importance of the protection.
Right.
So it's good that the local students, local school, we have already realized that. So the second thing is that what we do is the second thing that try to explore the ocean. That means you have more knowledge and skill to protect the nature.
On the 3rd day, students gained an insight into Beni Marine's master plan for a marine education and sports center in Atekru, which will include accommodation, restaurants, an auditorium, and 2 commercial zones. The center will also feature a modern medical clinic to provide services to locals and visitors.
I hope that in the future, the people came to us not only for enjoy the nature, but also it can contribute to the nature, and we can arise the awareness of protection of the ocean, and also let them thinking before or after they left Timor-Leste, how can I do something for the ocean? This is our target.
The project would cost $8 million and promises hundreds of job opportunities for the local community. Students finished the 3-day activity by collecting litter from Belois beaches, further reaffirming their commitment to protecting the ecosystem of the island they call home. Vicky Madeira, Basti Noronha, RTTL World News.
In international news, a former high-ranking Catholic bishop is on trial for allegedly abusing 3 young Aboriginal teenagers in Western Australia's far north. Former Bishop Christopher Saunders is accused of hosting alcohol-fueled parties where he enforced a rule that they must be shirtless. A warning, some of the details in this story may be distressing.
The former Bishop of Broome, Christopher Alan Saunders, out of the church and into a courtroom, accused of sex offences.
Mr. Saunders, do you have anything to say about the trial?
The prosecution, alleging the man who took a vow of celibacy, held a sexual interest in young Aboriginal men and a propensity to act on that when the opportunity presented. Christopher Alan Saunders is accused of hosting alcohol-fueled parties at his church-owned home in Broome, with a rule he strictly enforced: shirts off. The District Court in Perth hearing it was at these parties the former bishop allegedly groomed young men, often using boxing and wrestling as subterfuge. He's facing a total of 26 charges against 3 young Aboriginal men, the historical allegations spanning around a decade from 2008. The court was shown a photo of a 16-year-old boy shirtless and wearing a crucifix. Prosecutors allege it was found on the former bishop's phone, saying Mr. Saunders took it close to when the alleged abuse began. The court hearing the alleged abuse continued for years, only stopping when the man was jailed in his mid-20s. The 76-year-old has always denied the allegations and has pleaded not guilty. The trial has been set down for 3 weeks.
India's opposition leader has been detained by police in New Delhi after leading a protest outside Prime Minister Narendra Modi's home. It comes as thousands of supporters of India's youth-led cockroach movement remain on the streets.
I'm outside Jantar Mantar, New Delhi's official protest site, a day after violent clashes broke out between protesters and paramilitary and police personnel after crowds of people tried to march towards Parliament. All of this has been organised by the Cockroach Junta Party movement, and they're calling for the resignation of India's education minister over what they call a failed education system. Hundreds of people slept through the night inside the protest site, battling monsoon rains and very high humidity. And as you can see, hundreds of people have now spilled out into the streets surrounding that official site. The mood today is a lot less angry than it was yesterday, and we haven't seen any violent clashes break out yet, but that could change. We've just seen a number of police officers come out of the official site and surround this group of people. Many of them have started donning flak jackets, and they're all holding what are called lathis, or long bamboo sticks that they use to break up crowds. Abhijit Dipke, the leader of the Cockroach Junta Party, has called for calm. He's asking people to remain peaceful after those violent clashes broke out yesterday when tear gas was used, smoke bombs, sound cannon, and people were violently struck by paramilitary and police forces when they tried to break up crowds. That led to a number of people being hospitalised. One person I spoke to had their lower leg broken when they were struck. Yesterday, the government started engaging with the Cockroach Junta Party, but currently there are no signs that that is still ongoing. One thing for sure, though, is that these protesters aren't showing any sign that they're going anywhere.
And now tomorrow's weather, starting with Delhi. Warm, pleasant and partly cloudy, a top temperature of 31 and a low of 21 degrees. Sun through high clouds in Baukau, temperatures ranging between 28 and 19 degrees. In Lautem, sun and areas of high clouds in the morning, turning cloudy in the afternoon, a high of 27 and a low of 20 degrees. Some sun in Bobonaro, turning cloudy with a couple of showers in the afternoon. A top temperature of 25 and a low of 15. And in Aileu, pleasant and partly cloudy, temperatures ranging between 24 and 13 degrees. And now looking abroad. In Kupang, a steady breeze with sunshine and a few clouds. a high of 31 and a low of 22. Mostly sunny in Bali, with temperatures ranging between 31 and 20 degrees. Hazy sunshine in Jakarta, a top of 33 and a low of 24. In Seoul, sunny, warm, and humid, turning cloudy with afternoon thunderstorms, a high of 30 and a low of 23 degrees. Breezy in Darwin with intervals of clouds and sunshine, temperatures ranging between 31 and 20 degrees. In Sydney, breezy at times with plenty of sunshine, a high of 17 and a low of 7 degrees. Sunshine and a few clouds in Lisbon, temperatures ranging between 27 and 19 degrees. Mostly cloudy and very warm in London, with a top temperature of 29 and a low of 16. And in Belfast, a steady breeze with considerable cloud, a top temperature of 22 and a low of 14 degrees. Thanks for joining us again on the program. RTTL World News will be back with more stories on Sunday. Bye for now.